Hi, welcome back to Wake Up with Natalie Rose, the channel that helps you think less about food in your body and more about truly living. Today, I want to talk about that overwhelming feeling when you feel gross in your body and you just get that overwhelming urge to quit your healing journey, quit your goals, and start over again when you feel good enough to start again. Now, just for some context, I'm in a really great place with food and with my body. I want to walk you through how I'm dealing with current body changes. And I want to share a little bit of context about what difficulties and challenges I'm moving through and how I'm getting over that urge to just quit everything and start again when I feel better. Why would I want to not listen to that urge? Because I have goals and dreams, and I know that in order to achieve those goals and dreams, I need to maintain consistency. I cannot feed into a black and white mindset of things needing to feel good and perfect in order for me to take steps, or I might as well do nothing at all and just wait until it feels like the right time. So for some context, my son, who is 7 months old, started daycare last week. Now, this comes with a lot of emotions because he's much younger than I thought he would be when he went to daycare. I also have personal experiences from my childhood being an only child and having parents who worked a lot on evenings, weekends, and holidays, and were always leaving for work and how much that affected me. So that's playing into this. Another thing is with him going to daycare full time, that means that I had to quickly shift from exclusively breastfeeding to mostly bottle feeding. And that has had not only an impact on me emotionally, but also hormonally and physically. And how that has shown up is I feel, well, one, I got my period for the first time in 16 months this week. So that happened suddenly. My body is obviously going through these huge hormonal shifts, having stopped breastfeeding so quickly, getting my period back. And it has caused me to feel as though I have gained a significant amount of weight in a really short period of time. And this is reminding me a lot of what it felt like to experience weight changes as I was healing my relationship with food. And I can see the differences in my mindset and the way that I'm coping with it because of all the work that I've done to heal. And I'll get into that. But for now, I just want to sort of paint a picture of what it feels like for me. So even though I no longer body check, like I don't check my weight on the scale, I don't stand in the mirror and criticize or look for flaws or look for changes, but I'm a human and I have a body and I see my body every day. When I'm getting dressed, I can see that my body looks different. It feels different. It feels different in my clothes. Even if I'm not physically touching my body, I can feel my body in the way that it is being held with my pants. I've noticed changes in mood. I don't know if you can see, but I've noticed skin changes, which tells me that my hormones are changing a lot and my appetite has changed as well. So I'm just noticing all of these changes that are happening really suddenly, in addition to, this major life change with my son being in school full time and me, really getting back to work full time. And what I mean by work is, I've been coaching pretty consistently for the past few months, but the work that I'm getting into more consistently includes, creating new programs, recording my podcast more consistently, and all of these things that involve showing up online. And so because of all these changes I'm going through, because of how uncomfortable I feel, I gave myself kind of a pass last week for the podcast. I was kind of like, okay, it's your son's first week back to daycare. I think you can give yourself a break from the podcast. That's okay. But then as this week was rolling around and we're all sick because, daycare is basically infested with germs, pretty well expected that your kid will get sick and that you will catch his cold when your kids go to daycare. So now it's like, okay, last week I gave myself a pass because he was in daycare for the first time. Then this week I found myself thinking, okay, but now you're sick. So maybe hold off to do the podcast till next week. And I just recognize that there's that all or nothing mindset again of needing things to be perfect and smooth to show up. And I kept hearing myself saying, okay, but if you record it today, then you have to edit it today and upload it. There's no way you're going to be able to upload everything by Wednesday. And, it's Wake Up Wednesday. It has to be uploaded on the Wednesday. And I'm hearing myself saying that and saying, no, it does not. That's a rule. It doesn't have to abide by those rules. You can upload a podcast episode anytime. So for me to want to scrap the podcast today just because it wasn't going to be uploaded perfectly at the perfect time, in the perfect length, in the perfect capacity, that I shouldn't do it. So hence why I'm here today. I'm pushing past those all or nothing perfectionistic thoughts of needing to feel 100% in order to show up. And this is something I've practiced a lot in my healing journey. Just goes to show that healing is an ongoing practice. Sometimes we may feel more vulnerable to these old patterns that we've worked really hard at breaking, and they might come up again. And it's just about noticing it and taking the step to break past it. And so for you, this might look like, okay, you're working on healing your relationship with food and your body, and you notice your body feeling really different this week, and it scares you, and you get flooded with all these thoughts of like, see, I told you couldn't trust intuitive eating. See, I told you it would be a slippery slope. See, I told you that you need to be rigid with food in order to feel good in your body. See, I told you you're going to keep gaining weight forever and ever. And it might stop you from showing up fully in your relationships, from being intimate with your partner, from going to social events because you can't find anything that feels comfortable enough to wear. It's these moments that I want to talk about with you today. You can't deny how you're feeling in your body when you can't deny that your body is changing, and your brain wants you to stop everything, to quit, and to wait until you feel better again to start. Now, the reason why that doesn't work is because it reinforces in your mind that you cannot cope with body changes and that you need to look and feel perfectly to live your life, to achieve your dreams, to be successful, and to be happy. And that's simply not true. I personally lived with that mindset and wasted so many opportunities and so much of my life to that mindset of like, okay, as soon as I get back down to my ideal weight, then I can, wear the outfits and go out with friends, and then I can show up and feel confident. And that's simply not how confidence works. And it really, really stunts your personal growth. As usual, we are here today challenging perfectionism and working on our personal growth, because we are the only ones who can show ourselves that we are worthy of living the life that we want to live. We are the only ones who are capable of building the life that we want to live. And so in order to do that, we have to keep facing these roadblocks and breaking through them. And so I'm here right alongside with you, breaking through these roadblocks, because they still happen to me, not with food in my body anymore, but in, my work and in my personal life and my marriage. So let's get into it. One thing that I encourage you to do, if you find yourself in a place where you too are feeling really uncomfortable in your body or how you feel about yourself, and you find yourself hesitating on your goals, whether that's committing to your healing journey, continuing to work on your recovery goals, whether that's continuing to show up at therapy or coaching or whatever program that you're in, whether it's triggering an automatic response for you to withdraw and pull back and do less or not challenge yourself, I want you to notice that. I want you to say, this is how I'm feeling, and it's causing me to want to do this or to not do this. For example, maybe you say, okay, I can feel my body changing. I know that I've gained weight, and it's really causing me to spiral and think I'm going to feel this uncomfortable forever. And it's making me not want to be as flexible with food again, even though I've been doing really great on eating intuitively and less rigidly. Or maybe it's that you're noticing urges to act on behaviors. Like, for example, I caught myself thinking, I feel like talking to my husband about this. I feel like telling him, it feels like I've been gaining weight. Can you notice that? I felt like bringing it to a topic of conversation. And I think the motivation behind that was either to confirm my thoughts and feelings about weight gain, to elicit validation or reassurance. And so I stopped myself and I said, Natalie, we don't do this anymore. Like, we don't ask for reassurance about whether our body is changing, because that just reinforces the fear and anxiety and discomfort that we have about our body. Instead of looking for validation or for reassurance that we're okay or that we still look okay, which fuels the insecurity, we want to validate ourselves. So in that moment, I was like, yeah, I can see why you want to talk to your husband about this. I can see why you want to get his opinion on it or his confirmation or his validation. And that doesn't align with the most confident, self-trusting version of you. That aligns with someone who's insecure and who needs validation to feel better. So how can we give that to ourselves? And in that moment, I just met myself where I was at. I said, yeah, This feels really uncomfortable. And this is a temporary feeling that you're going to adjust to, or that it's going to work itself out when it will. You do not need to ask for reassurance or validation. And I think the reason why I was able to not give into that urge and to sit with the discomfort and to show up today is because I'm practicing willingness to allow myself to feel uncomfortable physically, emotionally, and mentally, and still take one step forward that helps me get to my goal. My goal is to be here, to show up, to create content, to connect with people, to do what I'm passionate about, to be a person who is constantly learning and evolving and doesn't let their body get in the way of that. That's my goal. So me showing up today is aligning with that goal. And look, I'm doing it. I'm showing myself that I can do it. Doesn't matter how uncomfortable I feel or how much my body actually has changed. It doesn't matter because that's a temporary feeling that I just have to sit with. All I have to do is show up today. That's all I have to do. Now, the opposite of willingness is willfulness. Being willful is when we hear ourselves saying, no, I'm just too overwhelmed. No, I just can't do it. I just can't handle this feeling. Just not today. I can't even. It's like when you put a wall up in front of yourself. Sometimes it sounds like excuses, but really what it is an unwillingness to be uncomfortable, an unwillingness to just take one step forward, an unwillingness to face what we're afraid of. And that's what holds us back in everything, but especially in our healing journey. The one thing that confident people have is the willingness to be uncomfortable, the willingness to show up imperfectly, to make mistakes and to learn from them. So if you're being willful and saying, nah, that just won't work for me, or no, coping skills don't help, or nothing's going to help me right now. I just need to go and be by myself. I just need to take the week off. I'll do this next week. That's the opposite of growth. That's an unwillingness to be with the inevitable ebbs and flows of life. There's always going to be something that challenges us. It's very rare that we'll experience a period in our life when we have no stressors, when we feel completely fine. It's expected that things are going to come up, barriers, challenges, and we have to be willing to just take that one step forward. So back to that willfulness, a lot of it has to do with the story that we're telling ourselves, right? And same with overwhelm. Overwhelm is a symptom. It is a symptom of a belief or a story that you're telling yourself, whether that's, I need to feel some type of way before I can take action, or if I can't do this perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. I'm not going to get enough out of it. It can also sound like for me, I have a practice of posting my podcast on Wednesdays, and that's why it's called Wake Up Wednesday. And so for me, I was like, okay, I've got all this stuff going on at home. I don't feel great in my body. I don't feel like I look good. I've got acne coming up because my hormones are changing. I don't have the right outfit to wear. I wear the same things every day. And even if I record today, there's no way I'm going to edit it and get it out by tomorrow for Wake Up Wednesday. And I'm like, Natalie, just because you have been used to posting on Wednesdays doesn't mean that you have to only post on Wednesdays. You can show up today and you can record a video and you don't have to spend a lot of time editing it, and you can get it out tomorrow if you set your mind to it. And even if you don't get it out tomorrow, you can post it the following day or the week after. And so again, I caught myself in the story that I was telling myself, that it has to be perfect and that it has to be posted at the perfect time and place. And so I encourage you in these moments when you are feeling willful, or like you can't show up, or like you can't challenge yourself, or you can't do the things that are going to help you move the needle forward in your healing journey, or in your career goals, or in your dreams, your relationships, whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself, what is the story that you're telling yourself? And another thing that really helps me in these moments is that after I can identify the story I'm telling myself, I remind myself that nobody cares. Nobody cares about whether you post on Wednesdays or Thursdays. Nobody cares about whether you think that you gained 15 pounds and look bad in your jeans. Nobody cares that you are feeling so unworthy because you're gaining weight and you've broken all the previous food rules that you used to have, that you're telling yourself you're no longer as attractive, that you're telling yourself that because you're gaining weight, there's nothing special or unique about you. Nobody can read your mind. Your friends, your family, potential dating dating partners or your husband, they just want to be with you, get to know you, experience you. They want to hear what's going on with you. They want to know what you're interested in. They want to relate to you. And so what happens when we have this story going on in our mind is it feels so encompassing, but it actually just puts up this wall between us and others. And I'm talking about the people who actually matter, people in your life. So for example, me thinking, you know what, I'm not going to record today because there's no way I would get it out for tomorrow, and thinking that people care, like that people care what day the podcast episode comes out, is really just creating a roadblock. It's really just me getting in the way of myself. I can post a podcast episode on a Thursday or a Friday, and the listeners who want to listen will listen to it. And they'll be like, oh, Natalie uploaded today. That's it. Nobody cares about the story that's going on in my mind. Oh, you've failed. You've done it again. Look at you. You can never be consistent. You can't post every Wednesday like these other big podcasters do. Oh, you've done it again. Nobody cares. And so I want you to think, when you are trapped in whatever's coming up for you, whether it's a core belief about being unworthy because, you don't look like you have enough discipline anymore because you're not extremely lean and your body's changing, just remind yourself that no one else is thinking that. Even if someone were to say, oh, you look like you've gained weight, they're not thinking, gosh, she's so unworthy. The third thing to be mindful of when you're going through all of this discomfort and you're wanting to quit or you're wanting to act out is to stop asking for reassurance. So just how I shared before, I kind of had these fleeting thoughts or urges to speak to my husband about it, to ask him if he's noticed these changes, like to confirm whether my feelings are true. And it's like, no, your feelings are valid. Your body probably is changing, and that's okay. You don't need someone to validate that you're still lovable or okay as you are. You just need to accept that changes happen. The more you treat changes as a normal part of life, the less scary and overwhelming they feel, because it all depends on how you respond to those changes. So me not acting differently, continuing to show up, continuing to treat myself the way I normally would, that breaks the cycle in my brain that changes are unbearable and that I have to feel completely fine to live my life. By showing up today as usual, I'm showing my brain that it's safe. And another thing, the way that you choose to show up when you're struggling can be such a huge game changer for your growth. For example, I normally spend an embarrassing amount of time scripting my episodes. I need to know exactly what I'm going to say. I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure that I get my point across. I want to make sure that I explain things fully so people understand. And guess what? That feeds into the amount of time that I spend podcasting, and it contributes to that mindset block that this is going to require so much of my time and energy, and that I need all of that in order to upload, which then causes me to sometimes not upload at all if I don't think that I have enough time. So to break that mindset, I showed up today. I just wrote a few jot notes down on a piece of paper. It's unscripted. I'm just sitting here and I'm trusting that I know what I'm talking about, that what comes to mind is going to be valuable enough, and that I can do it without overspending, without overworking, without perfecting this silly script that I do not need. I just need to show up. And so now, not only have I shown my brain that I can show up when my body is changing and I'm feeling uncomfortable, I've also showed my brain that I do not need to over prepare, that podcasting doesn't have to take so much of my time and energy, that I can do it when I have limited time, that I can do it when I have limited energy and capacity, and that I can be someone who's consistent. Do you see how powerful one small decision can make? I want you to ask yourself, where in your healing journey do you postpone the very small steps that you need in order to move forward? Is it buying a new comfortable pair of pants instead of re-wearing the same pants that just don't feel comfortable anymore, that keep reinforcing to yourself that you have gained weight and you've done this horrible thing and that you'll always be uncomfortable in your body? Yeah, you will if you continue wearing uncomfortable pants. So maybe for you, showing up is going online or heading to a thrift store. It doesn't have to be expensive, but buying a new pair of pants that fit you comfortably, that make your brain feel safer because you're not constantly feeling that tightness. Or maybe you have been postponing dating. Maybe you've been telling yourself, I need to get further in my healing journey, or work is too busy right now, or I just don't feel attractive right now. I'm in the middle of healing my relationship with food and my body. It's just not the right time. What could happen if you started dating and acting as if you already felt confident in your body? What if you showed up and you actually met someone who fed off of that energy and was excited to get to know you too, because you showed up in a way that showed that you were interested in them? Our energy bounces off other people. We can only receive what we open ourselves up to. So if we are going through the world like stuck in this story of, I feel so uncomfortable in my body and this sucks and I'm never going to feel good again and how could I do this? Then of course, people aren't going to pay us the attention that we need. We are not going to be open to joyful experiences that show our brain that we can be happy and confident and have positive feelings, even if we feel uncomfortable in our body. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the story that you're telling yourself? Remind yourself that other people can't read your mind. They just want to experience you. And that is what you have to say. And if you feel like you don't have anything to say, again, question that story. Do you have to listen to that story? No, just because your brain is telling you that. Try again. Show up again. It took me so many times to get on here and start recording, even just as simple as looking at the clock and seeing it was 11:58. I was like, okay, well, I have to wait till 12. I'll start at 12 and then I'll have exactly an hour before my call. And I was like, Natalie, stop. And then I hit the record button. Like sometimes the work is just constantly fighting against ourselves until it gets easier. And again, like this podcast episode means so much to me right now because of all the hormonal, physical, lifestyle changes I'm going through my life. It's not even going to feel like this a month from now, especially not after having practiced showing up each week, just like today, sitting with that discomfort and taking one step forward. Every time my brain thinks of a reason to stop or to not act or to not move forward, I keep moving forward. And that's exactly what you have to do when you're navigating the messy middle of body image, when you're healing your relationship with food, when your body feels uncomfortable. Stop telling yourself that you're always going to feel this uncomfortable. Stop telling yourself that you have to feel better before you can show up in your life, before you can be present with your friends, before you can lean in when your child is upset and get to know what they're experiencing without trying to control how they're feeling or control how your body looks or feels in that moment. Like it is a constant process. Sometimes it's harder. Like I said, on weeks like this, when things feel especially heavy, whether it's in your body, in your life, mentally, emotionally, whatever is going on. And other weeks, it's going to be easier. But what has to be consistent is you showing up for yourself. Something that I've also been practicing lately is asking myself, in what ways have I been letting myself down? So I consistently let myself down when I act willful, when I say, no, it's just not the right day for me to show up. No, I'm just not quite feeling it. I've started to say to myself, Natalie, you've been working really hard at this. And I know that this is a struggle for you. Managing your time, having a baby, all these new experiences have been overwhelming and difficult, and that's okay. And you're letting yourself down. So what can you do today? Whether it's for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes, what can you do to show up for yourself? Because you know what? The things that we resist most are the things that we need the most. We put the most pressure around the things that are the most important to us and that are the scariest to fail or to mess up. So what we resist most is often what we need to spend the most time doing. For me, that looks like to stop checking off all the little mundane tasks that I feel like I need to do before I can fully sit down and lean into the bigger task, which might be working on a new project. I need to recognize that and say, no, Natalie, let the mundane tasks wait. Focus on the thing that you are resisting the most, which is the project, the bigger project. So for you, what is it that you are putting off? How long are you spending scrolling Instagram before you, finally decide to get up and do your daily journaling that you had set a goal to do? Even when everything in your body says, nope, I want to give up. I'll start this healing process again when I feel better in my body, and your brain just wants to hyper focus on your weight. But look how it's changing. How much is it going to change? I need to know when it's going to stop changing. I want you to take a deep breath and remember, let go of the story that you're telling yourself. Nobody else cares. Don't look for reassurance and just take one step forward. But Natalie, what if it's true? If I don't act now, my body's going to keep changing forever and ever, and I'll never feel good in my body. No. Let go of that story. It is not the truth. All that's happening right now is you're going through some temporary shift. Your only job is to show up for yourself, meaning nourishing, drinking water, treating your body as if you would, if you had the perfect ideal body, showing up in your life, in your relationships, in your career, putting your all into things. Or if you can't put your all, just show up. That is your only job. That's it. That's all you have to do is show up. When your brain says it's too hard, you just want to give up and everything in you wants to avoid and withdraw, remind yourself, you don't need to give up. You don't need a fresh start. You just need to continue. And if you are genuinely asking, okay, but Natalie, what are you going to do about weight? Like, how are you actually going to deal with your body changing? For me, I've had so much experience knowing that when we're dealing with body changes and weight changes that are very real, responding in an extreme way is never going to be helpful. If I responded to these changes through restricting and saying, okay, obviously it's my diet, I've got to cut down on this and this and this, or overdoing, like over exercising, or in a past phase in my journey, I would have just given up completely. I would have said, oh my God, I'm failing, and that would have led to overeating and just giving up. I know now, I've had enough practice to know that the answer is always going to be balance. It is always going to be getting through difficult sensations without catastrophizing. I'm not sitting here telling myself that, oh my God, my hormones are broken. I'm just going to keep gaining weight. I knew I shouldn't have stopped breastfeeding. They say that when you stop breastfeeding, you gain weight. Like, I'm not treating this as some horrible thing that I've done wrong. I know that one, these changes are probably related to hormones. When we think of weight gain, we think we have so much more control over it than we actually do. I didn't gain a whole bunch of weight during my pregnancy, and it wasn't because I was eating healthy and working out every day. I ate whatever I could, which was not the typical health foods you would think of. Like, I barely ate any vegetables because my body was craving, foods like pizza, which you wouldn't categorize as a health food, but that's what my body needed. And that's what I ate. I never had the energy to move much. I did probably a handful of bar classes and that's it. I know so many women who work out every single day of their pregnancy and still gained a lot of weight and had difficulty losing the weight postpartum. So the pressure we put on ourselves to eat right and work out enough is really useless because your body's going to respond how it's going to respond. This is how my body is responding right now hormonally, and I'm not going to punish it through overexercise. Do I want to get back into a regular routine with movement? Yes. I've been out of a routine for a long time, and I know that whether or not my weight changes, I'm going to feel better if I'm getting some kind of joyful movement in most days. So I know that I don't need to react drastically to uncomfortable feelings in my body. It's going to be okay. The urgency that you feel to change your body because you notice some weight gain comes from those deep core beliefs of feeling unworthy if you don't look the right way. I've healed those core beliefs, so I don't feel a sense of urgency to fix what is going quote unquote wrong. My body's going through ebbs and flows. That's okay. I'm not going to lose anyone. I'm not going to lose myself. I trust myself. I know myself. Life is good. I don't have to believe any stories that come up in my mind. I just need to show up for myself and keep showing up for myself, and everything will work itself out. But right now, my priority is just showing up, getting grounded in a routine, and just taking one step forward. So again, if this is something that you're struggling with, whether it's changes in your body, whether it's urges to give up on your healing journey, whether it's urges to stop challenging yourself, I want you to shift the focus from your body to everything else that's going well and one thing that you can do that's going to move the needle forward in your healing journey, whether that's challenging yourself to show up more, whether that's challenging yourself to just continue the goals that you've set, whether that's challenging yourself to continue with the support you're receiving, stopping or even to reach out for support? What is one way that you can stop yourself from postponing your recovery, from shutting down because things aren't perfect, and from sitting with the discomfort and just moving through it as you would if you did feel 100% confident and at ease? I'm going to stop for today, but I hope this episode was helpful, and I would love to hear from you. If you want to leave a comment, or you can DM me on Instagram at Wake Up and Smell the Rosé. I'd love to learn more about what causes you to stop in your tracks, or what's a mindset shift that has really helped you when you've been feeling overwhelmed to keep moving forward to reach your goals. I hope you're enjoying your week, and I'll talk to you next week.